Yo, what's up guys? I'm here with a new Savage guide for Pandæmonium. This time we'll be looking at P10S, aka Living Hell. I'll be going over how old mechanics work and how to clear with the most optimized strats. So, without further ado, let's get right into the guide. One thing I want to address before we start, unfortunately for melees, the boss does have positionals, despite the Wappenheimer of a hitbox it has, meaning Dragoons will have to save the rear thrusting for next time. Don't worry, there is a slight resolution to this problem later in the fight, but for now, melees will have to use their true north stacks to compensate. Our first big mechanic is dividing wings. The boss will send out 2 stacks and 2 poles that tether to 2 players. These tethers will determine the direction of conal AoE that will shoot out from the poles. Now I've seen people use strats like north-south stacks or west-east stacks, but for this we're going to use northeast and southwest stacks. Melees up front for uptime of course, and all ranged players will be southwest. What the stacks will do is tether everyone in the stack as it goes off, trapping everyone in place with each other, similar to a static of close friends who can't clear raid tiers simply because they do not want to call out the other friends for sucking, so they suffer months of prog for the sake of friendship. Right as this is happening, the boss will be casting either a giant ultimate terror AoE or an iron chariot AoE, so to handle this, the wings people have to break the tethered people out by simply touching the white sticky ropes coated on their bodies. Now to help memorize what each AoE cast does, you can dumb it down to simply this. Circles of Pandæmonium will be a giant circle in front of the boss that you'll have to avoid, and Pandæmontoli will be a big hole that becomes the safe spot in the hitbox. Up next, the boss is going to curb stomp 2 spots in the arena indicated by 2 towers. These need to be soaked while the hit of the attack knocks away the player soaking the tower. These can only be soaked by melee DPS players, but this will be the resolution to the melee positional problem mentioned earlier. The melee players must position themselves in the tower so that they can be knocked at an angle towards the side platforms. Both melees will need to use their personal mitigation, and healers will need to make sure they are topped up and shielded for the tower's damage. Once that's done, the boss will be able to fling the melees to their flank positional temporarily. The next big mechanic is Jason Craig, aka Damon Bonds. But before we resolve these debuffs, the boss will shoot out 3 lasers indicated by 2 solo markers and a line stack marker. The 2 solo markers will be targeted on the 2 DPS with the lowest damage, and the line stack marker will be targeted on the healer that has a text-to-speech callout plugin installed. After resolving these lasers, you will have to resolve your Bonds debuffs with either another teammate or 3 other players. An easy way to do this, surprisingly, is to sacrifice everyone but a healer that only has the solo debuffs and let that healer LB3 to revive the entire group. You definitely won't be needing the LB3 for anything else for the rest of the fight, so just use it for this. The next mechanic is turrets, where you will have to argue with Final Fantasy XIV players and what way you want to shoot yourselves. Up next is Harrowing Hell. Now don't worry about Harrowing Hell, it's actually the easiest mechanic, as everyone should have mitigations ready for it. After, the boss does a raid-wide AoE that applies bleed debuffs to every player, and after taking stack AoEs and after both tanks taking a multiple hit shared tank buster while the main tank simultaneously takes auto attacks from the boss. To prepare for the knockback on the final hit of HH, you need to form a long sticky wall behind your group by stacking the boss's white goo on each other so that it can shoot a long sticky white rope across your rear view. Then, once that's done, all you need to do is kick back, do your burst, while your healers comfortably heal every hit of HH until the final hit knocks everyone back, and you're done. Easy peasy. Nothing happens after this. Unfortunately, what follows is the hardest mechanic of the fight, so I'll break this down step by step. First, the center will have a huge circle AoE, then the boss will send out conal AoEs from the circle in a radial pattern. To handle this, you need to first pre-position on either cardinal side of the circle, then make sure you apply to Harvard University, take classes on trigonometry, have mitigations ready for extreme school loan debt, graduate with a degree that should give you a temporary hope buff, then land a 9-to-5 office job that barely lets you survive with every paycheck. While this happens, you gain a permanent stack of the depression debuff, wait till March, get your tax refund, pay $10 to Square Enix, wait 2 hours in the party finder because this fight has been outdated for months now at this point, come back to this mechanic, and now you can calculate the shapes of the cone AoEs and how fast each one goes out on each side to figure out where you need to run out to avoid the half-room cleave the boss will do as the cone AoEs go off. Now this all might seem overwhelming at first, but I can guarantee you that with enough practice, you'll be able to get this mechanic down. After this, the boss will repeat mechanics including Harrowing Hell with a new voice line for some reason, but by the time you get to that, the boss should be dead and you will have cleared the fight. Thank you for watching, I hope this guide helps you, and I will see you all on the battlefield.